is Nipunika Shahid, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Mirabai Chanu clinches silver in the women's 49-kilogram weightlifting category to open India's medal tally at the Tokyo Olympics. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulate Chanu on her stupendous performance. In a first, Indian Railways Oxygen Express will transport 200 metric tons of liquid medical oxygen to Bangladesh. US President Joe Biden speaks to Afghan counterpart Ashraf Ghani. Both leaders discussed situation in Afghanistan. Relief and rescue operations in full swing in rain-affected Maharashtra, Karnataka and flood-hit Bihar. And President Ramnath Kovind to visit Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh from Sunday. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years of age is underway, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also to help others to get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Indian weightlifter Mirabai Chanu has secured the first medal for the country at the Tokyo Olympics, winning a silver medal in the women's 49-kilogram category. She lifted a total of 202 kilograms in the clean and jerk category. Hu Zihui of China won the gold, lifting 210 kilograms, creating an Olympic record. A deluge of praise and adulation followed Mirabai's stupendous feat from across the country and the world. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla and other leaders congratulated weightlifter Mirabai Chanu for winning the silver medal at the Tokyo Olympics. They said the nation is very proud of her achievement. Congratulating Mirabai Chanu, Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur said she has brought a smile on the faces of 135 crore Indians. Interacting with media, Ms. Mirabai Chanu expressed her happiness and said that she has made a lot of sacrifices for this day, and today all her hard work has been rewarded and her dreams has come true.
मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई क्योंकि मैंने बहुत सपना किया था ओलंपिक मेडल लेने के लिए, बहुत मेहनत की थी, तो मेरा सपना पूरा हो गया है, तो मैं बहुत खुशी हूँ, मैं बता नहीं सकती, मैं बहुत खुश हूँ.
Born on the 8th of August in Nongpok, Kangching, Imphal, Manipur, Saikhom Mirabai Chanu started her professional career when she was just 12 years old. She won her first ever competitive gold medal at the age of 12 as she became the under-15 national champion. She began weightlifting in the year 2007 at Khoman Lampak Sports Complex situated in Imphal. By the age of 17, Mirabai had won a gold medal at the International Youth Championship and subsequently earned her national call-up. Mirabai got her major recognition when she won a silver medal at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in the 48-kilogram category. She also qualified for the Rio Olympics that was supposed to be held in 2016, but then she succumbed to pressure and couldn't perform well. She bounced back in 2018 by winning a gold medal in the Commonwealth Games, and recently she lifted a record 201 kilograms, the first by any Indian woman to do so. Mirabai achieved this rare feat when she was competing in the 49 kg category. Besides, due to her contribution to sports, she was offered a job in the Eastern Railways and she works as a senior ticket collector. She has been conferred the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award and the Padma Shri Award.
It was a day to remember for all Indians for the performances by the Indian athletes in Tokyo. In tennis, India's Sumit Nagal won his first round men's singles match 6-4, 6-7, 6-4 against Uzbekistan's Denis Istomin, while Indian archers Deepika Kumari and Praveen Jadhav lost to South Korea's An San and Kim Jae-deok 6-2 in the quarterfinal. In table tennis, Manika Batra won her first women's singles clash against Britain's Tin Tin Ho. Manika Batra powered to a 4-0 win over her British opponent. In badminton, Chirag Shetty and Ranki Reddy defeated Li Yang and Wang Qilin of Taipei 21-16, 16-21, 27-25 in a Group A men's doubles match. B. Sai Praneeth lost in the men's singles category to Zilberman Misha in a Group D encounter. Shooter Saurabh Chaudhary was placed 7th in the 10-meter air pistol finals. Boxer Vikas Krishna Yadav lost to Japan's Okazawa Sivonretz 5-0 in the 63-69 kg category. Earlier in the day, India started its men's hockey campaign with a win beating New Zealand 3-2 in Pool A opening match. Rupinder Pal Singh scored 1 goal while Harmanpreet Singh scored 2 goals. Indian women lost to the Netherlands 1-5 in the hockey opener. In the women's 10-meter air rifle qualification event, India failed to qualify for the final round at the Tokyo Olympics 2020. Former world number 1 Apurvi Chandela finished at 36th place in her qualification round. She could manage only a 621.9. China clinched its first gold medal in the Tokyo Olympics in women's 10 meters air rifle shooting. Yang Qian set an Olympic record of 251.8 to win the medal at the Osaka shooting range. Russia's Anastasia won silver, while Switzerland's Nina Christen won the first bronze medal of Tokyo 2020. At the end of day 1, India was 12th in the medal tally. China topped the standings with 3 golds and a bronze. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter @AIR News Alerts.
U.S. President Joe Biden spoke to Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani on Friday. A statement from the White House said that President Biden and President Ghani discussed the situation in Afghanistan and reaffirmed their commitment to an enduring bilateral partnership. President Biden emphasized continued U.S. support, including development and humanitarian aid for the Afghan people, including women, girls, and minorities. President Biden and President Ghani agreed that the Taliban's current offensive is in direct contradiction to the movement's claim to support a negotiated settlement of the conflict. Mr. Biden also reaffirmed the United States' commitment to continue supporting the Afghan security forces to defend themselves. Meanwhile, President Biden raised a memorandum to furnish assistance under the Migration and Refugee Assistance Act (MRAA) in an amount of up to $100 million towards the United States Emergency Refugee and Migration Assistance Fund. This includes the Special Immigration Visas (SIV). The SIV is to evacuate Afghan nationals and their families who assisted the U.S. in its war efforts in Afghanistan from potential reprisal by the Taliban. On Thursday, the U.S. and its EU allies issued a joint communique expressing full support to an inclusive Afghan-owned and Afghan-led peace process with full and meaningful participation of women that leads to a just and durable political settlement. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be discussing efforts to support a just and durable peace in Afghanistan on his visit to India. In a statement previewing Mr. Blinken's visit to Delhi, India and Kuwait, Mr. Blinken, in his first such visit since his appointment as U.S. Secretary of State, will visit India on the 27th and 28th of July. Spokesperson Ned Price said that India is a critical partner in the region and welcomed India's shared commitment to peace and supporting economic development in Afghanistan.
In another development, the U.S. announced nearly $155 million in additional humanitarian assistance for the people of Iraq as well as Iraqi refugees in the region on Friday. In a statement, the U.S. State Department said that the funding will provide critical shelter, essential health care, emergency food assistance, among others. It added that the U.S.-funded programs will support Iraqis displaced by ISIS, many of whom also continue to face hardships from the COVID-19 pandemic. The UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace has said that the Indo-Pacific is the region of fastest growing economic and political importance in this competitive age. In his remarks at the Vietnam Diplomatic Academy, he said that the Indo-Pacific is not just of importance to global Britain but to the world. Mr. Wallace, in a series of visits in the region, visited Japan, the Republic of Korea and Vietnam on a trip to reaffirm the UK's commitment to the Indo-Pacific. The UK government said that the Indo-Pacific region is vital to our strategic interests. It added that the UK is deepening and expanding its defence relationships with key partners in the region to tackle changing global threats.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crossed the milestone of 43 crore doses on Friday. According to the 7 p.m. provisional report, nearly 46 lakh vaccine doses were administered on Friday. The Health Ministry said that the recovery rate now stands at 97.35%, with more than 35,000 patients recovering during the past 24 hours. In the same period, over 39,000 new cases were reported in the country. The weekly positivity rate remains below 5% at 2.22%. 546 deaths have been reported in the previous 24 hours.
Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world. 10 containers rakes of Indian Railways left for Bangladesh on Saturday morning from Tatanagar station in Jharkhand with 200 metric tons of the liquid medical oxygen LMO. It will reach Benapole in Bangladesh on Sunday. The container rakes were loaded on Friday after the indent was received at Tatanagar under Chakradharpur division of the South Central Railway to transport the LMO to Benapole in Bangladesh. This is the first time ever that the Oxygen Express is put into operation to a neighbouring country. These special train services were started in India from the 24th of April. So far, 480 such Oxygen Expresses have been operationalized within India. Prasar Bharati's special correspondent in Dhaka reports that the consignment will significantly augment necessary reserves of liquid medical oxygen in Bangladesh. Earlier, India supplied more than 180 tons of medical oxygen to Bangladesh during the Eid holidays under special arrangements.
President-elect of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly and Foreign Minister of Maldives, Abdullah Shahid, called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday. Both leaders discussed the rapid growth in the Indian-Maldives bilateral relationship in recent years. In today's Hotspot section, we focus on India-Maldives ties. In conversation are Anil Wadhwa, former diplomat, and Nilova Roy Chaudhary, journalist.
What do you make of the shadow boxing that is going on within the Maldives between Mr. Nasheed and Mr. Soli? I mean, that Nasheed has apparently even made overtures to the former President Abdullah Yameen after the assassination attempt on him. And what is going on?
So I think this is, we have to go back a little bit in history if we have to analyze the current situation. As you know, that under Abdullah Yameen, the relationship with India was quite low, mainly because of the fact that during his rule in the Maldives, he ended up with a $2 billion debt to China. He allowed the private sector to take loans which were guaranteed by the government. And of course, terrorism and radicalism grew most in those years, with most amount of foreign fighters in Syria being from Maldives in those years. And also, he allowed a defense agreement, important defense agreement with India to lapse in 2018 and asked for our 2 helicopters to be taken back. So after that, when we had Mohammed, during this period also, we called Mohammed Nasheed was arrested on terrorism charges. And so when Abdullah Soli was elected as president, we all thought that it was a good arrangement because at that point, Mohammed Nasheed settled for speaker's slot. But obviously, he's been worked upon by interested parties. And since last year, we have seen progressively that there is an India Out campaign by the Progressive Congress protesting against the stationing of reconnaissance aircraft and military choppers and military personnel from India in Maldives. In fact, there was also an emergency motion in the parliament in October 2020 asking for details of the military agreement with India. And of course, during this period, we've also seen the US Maldives Defense Pact as well, but that's not come under any attack. So this just points to the fact that this is a personal ambition of former president which is now playing out. So Abdullah Yamin, who in turn was backed very heavily by the Chinese in those days, and obviously there is recognition of the fact that this kind of India out movement has to be supported from outside. So there are suspicions that this alliance, unholy alliance, has come about because of the foreign hand of possibly the Chinese in Maldives.
It's very strange somehow, isn't it, Anil? The fact that Nasheed was one of India's strongest backers and always was anti-Chinese and very much in the thrall of India. And he, was seen as one of India's backers. In fact, he went to the Indian High Commission to take refuge there. And even President Ibrahim Soli, India welcomed his election and has gone out of its way in every which way to sort of be accommodating and help out and assist in every which way possible. Even the tourism aspect on which the Maldives thrives, the air bubble arrangement has ensured that most of the tourists visiting the Maldives a large majority are Indian, about 25%. So what is the sense behind this sudden India out kind of movement, and why is it appearing that Nasheed is actually part of those who is doing things that can destabilize the country and bring it again within the ambit of the Chinese?
So I think the movement is led by the Progressive Congress, and of course the leadership there belongs to Abdullah Yamin. But there is also this factor about how long Abu Soli should remain president. And when he assumed this presidentship, there were fears raised at that point that at some point in time the leadership issue will become a question between him and Mohammad Nasheed. And now, unfortunately, that has come out in full play. Now, obviously, the person to gain from this is Abdullah Yamin and the Progressive. And in the process, Maldives is in a difficult situation, but also at the same time is India in a difficult situation because India has gone all out to support the current government. If the kind of projects that India has, starting from the economic recovery package put together for a government which was heavily in debt, by the way, when Abu Soli assumed power, Chinese. And at that point in time, India put together a relief package of $1.4 billion. Then after that, there have been, at least 45 connectivity and civilian infrastructure projects that have been launched by India. And compare this to 9 by Saudi Arabia, 9 by Kuwait, 1 by Netherlands, Pakistan and China each. Plus, there are 7 major projects which are coming under the lines of credit that India has extended the $800 million line of credit. And then for Greater Male Connectivity Project, there is another line of credit for $400 million and a special grant of $100 million. Now, these are major projects. Besides this, India is also offered a currency swap agreement. It's building capacity. It's offering its SciTech program, also crucially helping in the health sector. And therefore, what India has done is basically saying that you must have an India first policy, which the current government has endorsed. And of course, we've said that this is not shutting out China, and Maldives is free to deal with other countries as it deems fit. But at the same time, this infighting in Maldives will definitely affect direction of India-Maldives cooperation.
Foreign Minister Shahid was in India yesterday, and it's very curious to me, the announcement put out by the Maldivian Foreign Ministry actually said that he was coming in his capacity as President-elect of the UN General Assembly at the request of India. Now, India is a country that actually supported his candidature against another very close neighbor and friend of India's, which was Afghanistan, and their former Foreign Minister Zalmay Rasool. Now, the point being that despite all of the extra sort of mile, as it were, that India seems to have, including the $50 million line of credit for defense purchases and the anti-terrorism cooperation, that all of which was signed when External Affairs Minister visited there in February. Why suddenly does this kind of thing, when there is a sort of supposedly friendly government at the helm, how does this suddenly come up is something that I'm still trying to understand.
So, if you're talking about the statement which has been put out by the Maldivian Foreign Office on the visit, of course, I won't read too much into that because if they did not say that he is visiting at the invitation of India, which is a fact, seen as if, the president-elect of the UN General Assembly is actually kowtowing to another country and going there for aspects. Now, obviously, it is not in the interest of Maldives nor of India to be seen in that, for the visit to be seen in that light. So I think that part apart, I think what we need to concentrate now in the future is to make sure that, the infighting within the politics in Maldives does not get out of hand. And that, more importantly, I think it would be useful if Abdullah Yameen is not allowed to take the situation further so that it does harms Indian interests in Maldives. And of course, there's a lot of stake because at the current moment, Maldives is very crucially placed in the Indian Ocean. The Chinese push started in the Indian Ocean, and there was a time during the previous regime when the Chinese had also agreed with the Maldivian government of the day to have a military observatory, a submarine observatory in the garb of a research facility, which fortunately has reversed at the moment. But, going forward, it's very important for India and Maldives to keep cooperating on the security front, and therefore the situation should not get out of hand.
Now, the Indian cabinet had actually very recently as the end of May, decided upon opening a second diplomatic mission in the Maldives, a consulate general in Adu city, that will help to augment its diplomatic presence there. Do you think that that is likely to go ahead given this kind of uncertainty that's happening now? And if that does come about, is that likely to help further sort of strengthen the Indian relationship with the Maldives?
So I think India should make haste in trying to, in its process of opening this mission in Adu city, because essentially it is meant for liaison not only with our 225,000 people who are scattered all over Maldives, at the same time to keep in touch with the defense personnel who are stationed there, plus to make sure that there is coordination to carry out what is required which cannot be carried out from Male, especially in the light of the pandemic, because movement is restricted nowadays within the islands. In any case, the aim of the India Out campaign, hardliners is not to target an Indian extra mission, but what they're saying is that they are actually protesting against the military arrangements that have been reached. And an emergency motion in the parliament last October asking for details of the military agreement. So the thrust is over there, and not so much on the other issues of reconstruction and construction and infrastructure projects and connectivity that India has undertaken.
So at this point, India would ideally sort of obviously like both Mr. Nasheed and Mr. Soli to arrive at some kind of a workable arrangement and proceed with things so that whatever assistance has been promised and whatever happens, whatever needs to happen can happen smoothly. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yes, I think that would be in the best interest of India and Maldives, and of course the two gentlemen who are involved in this. Because, I think this is not purely an anti-India campaign. It is actually directed at the incumbent president because of the power sharing and jostling for power, which is going on right now, which was actually expected at the time when President Soli was elected. But now that situation has gone on for a few years, and Maldives has received what it had to from India. The situation is stable. I think he sees a chance of him coming back and playing a larger role in public life.
Well, India will need to wait and watch, I guess. Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador Wadhwa.
Thank you.
President Ramnath Kovind will be on a 4-day visit to the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh from Sunday. On Monday, which is the 22nd anniversary of Kargil Vijay Divas, President Kovind will pay homage to the indomitable courage and sacrifice of the Indian Armed Forces during the Kargil conflict of 1999 at the Kargil War Memorial Dras in Ladakh. The President will grace and address the 19th annual convocation of the University of Kashmir in Srinagar on Tuesday.
Relief and rescue operations in full swing in rain-affected Maharashtra, Karnataka and flood-hit Bihar. Torrential rainfall in various parts of Maharashtra coinciding with discharge from dams led to floods across many districts in the state. Mahad and Polatpur in Raigad, Chiploon and Khed in Ratnagiri, along with various areas in Satara, Kolhapur and Sangli district have been affected badly. 21 teams of NDRF, 7 teams of Indian Navy, 4 teams of STRF and 3 teams each of Indian Army and Coast Guard are working for rescue of stranded civilians. As many as 17 bodies have been recovered from landslide debris at Khed Posre village in Khed Taluka in Ratnagiri district today. 60 bodies have been recovered so far from landslide debris in Mahad and Polatpur Taluka in Raigad district. In Satara district also, NDRF teams are struggling to rescue trapped people under the debris while 11 bodies have been recovered at Ambekar. Indian naval ship Airawat arrived at the port of Jakarta, Indonesia on Saturday carrying essential COVID-19 relief supplies. The ship has brought 5 cryogenic containers containing 100 metric tons of liquid oxygen and 300 concentrators to support Indonesia in its fight against the ongoing pandemic.
Dr. Anil Kumar Sharma of Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh is the winner of Friday's edition of the Olympic quiz of All India Radio News. Many congratulations to him from the entire team of AIR News. Speaking to AIR News, Dr. Anil, a pediatrician by profession, expressed happiness on winning the Olympic quiz and wished the Indian Olympic contingent the best for the Tokyo Olympics.
एक कहावत है कि a good beginning is half work done. आज मीराबाई चानू ने 49 kg में भारतवर्ष के लिए टोक्यो में सिल्वर मेडल जीता और इधर मैं आज ऑल इंडिया रेडियो स्पोर्ट्स कैन टोक्यो ओलंपिक क्विज का विजेता बन गया. इससे बड़ी खुशी और क्या हो सकती है. ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे मैंने ही ओलंपिक मेडल जीत लिया है. मैं पूरे यूपी के निवासियों की तरफ से सभी 127 ओलंपिक में भाग लेने वाले खिलाड़ियों को बेस्ट विशेस देना चाहता हूं.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Guardian writes curfew imposed in Afghanistan to curb Taliban offensive. Washington Post reports U.S. officials say they have escalated airstrikes on Taliban as Afghan military loses ground. Sputnik News posts Kermadec Islands region hit by magnitude 6.0 earthquake. Financial Times reports G20 meeting on new climate targets highlights divisions. Financial Times also writes that China imposes sanctions on Wilbur Ross and 6 other Americans. Wall Street Journal says France passes new bill to tighten control of mosques.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Mirabai Chanu clinches silver in the women's 49 kg weightlifting category to open India's medal tally at Tokyo Olympics. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulate Chanu on her stupendous performance. In a first, Indian Railways Oxygen Express will transport 200 metric tons of liquid medical oxygen to Bangladesh. US President Joe Biden speaks to Afghan counterpart President Ashraf Ghani. Both leaders discussed situation in Afghanistan. Relief and rescue operations in full swing in rain-affected Maharashtra, Karnataka and flood-hit Bihar. And President Ramnath Kovind to visit Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh from Sunday. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let's listen to his favorite bhajan Vaishnava Jan by artists from Bangladesh. With that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of the World News.